We're excited that you've joined us here on YouTube for a great message today that the Lord would use to touch your life. We are excited that you could now subscribe and get several messages that will impact your life, whether it is our assistant Pastor Pierre Cannings or myself, your Pastor Paul Cannings. And we are glad to serve you. We can also continue this process, but not only you subscribing by going to our website. When you go to our website, you could get engaged in our ministries and be able to become engaged in what we're doing here at Living Word Fellowship Church, so we get a chance to be a part of your life to grow you. And not only that, we've got a book that will be able to help you to go from spiritual infancy to spiritual maturity. What are the steps? How do you get there? How do you know you're there? What the fruit of the Spirit looks like? These different things will take place when you get engaged in our website and learn more about us and be able to give. 5 ways to give. When you get to our website, it explains that. And by doing so, we're able to not just touch your life, but the folks at Living Word. We're able to go across the world for the glory of God by those who subscribe, like you will subscribe, in impacting lives. So join us again. As more messages are rolled out, or you go to messages already there, you're able to see God grow in your life, because His Word becomes a viable mechanism to not just know Him, but to experience Him. Come back. Let us grow together.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Y'all doing all right? You know, he always got to say he beat me in basketball. I stopped at my master's. He got his doctorate, so he just beating me, you know. But that's all right. I celebrate his wins. I want to thank Chris as well. Chris be getting me every time I come here, y'all. You know what I mean? So I want to thank you. I'm almost not ready. I'm still worshiping. And so I'm trying to get myself ready. Plus I got Uncle Paul and Pierre looking at me like, we paid for you to come here. You know, you need to speak. Sing a new song in your heart on the way home. We had plane ticket. But I'm excited to have the opportunity. I'm excited about Living Word in 29 years. You don't take that lightly. It's God's faithfulness. But it's the faithfulness of leaders, Uncle Paul and Aunt Everett. I always tell people, if you know the ministry of Tony Evans, it's because you have the fingerprint of Lois Evans all over you. It's the same thing here. And so we celebrate them and their faithfulness. As somebody opens the door for you, you don't just give God the glory, you say thank you to the person. Because they decided to use their hands for your benefit. And so we have to say thank you to our leaders because they opened the door for you and decided to use their hands for your good. And so it's good for us to be able to say thank you for raising me too and putting up with all of my shenanigans. I appreciate you and appreciate y'all. Okay, y'all ready for God's word? I want to get into God's word. Let me pray, and then I'm going to give you a legacy passage today. Heavenly Father, we love you and honor you. We give you the praise and glory for who you are. I always remind myself, and I want to remind everybody here today, that if you don't do anything else, you've already done enough. By sending your Son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for our sins. Lord, help us to believe it, but afterwards, help us to walk in it. To experience you, to not come to the light, but also walk in the light. We pray for every individual in this room that you will bless them indeed, enlarge their territory, walk with them, be gracious to them. May your countenance shine upon them and give them peace all the days of their life. We love you and honor you. Bless your word and the meditations of my heart. In Jesus' name, amen. I want you to turn to Psalm 128. Psalm 128 is a legacy passage for my family. It's been in the family since I can remember. Psalm 128. And we were raised around the table in the Evans home, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But I remember there was an evening where we were sitting at the table, and my dad would often ask my mom to cook. That would bring us to the table, the food. And he would ask her to cook for 2 reasons. Number 1, because he couldn't cook, and number 2, because he couldn't cook. So he would ask her to do what she does best and whip up a meal, and we would sit around the table Monday through Thursday. Friday, we'd go out to eat or something like that. And one of these days, he pulled out his Bible, which he would always do, and he passed the Bible over to me and had me read this passage. And I want to read this passage today to all of you. So can I bring you to the Evans table for this morning? This is what it says. How blessed is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. When you shall eat the fruit of your hands, you will be happy, and it will go well with you. Your wife shall be like a fruitful vine within your house, your children like olive plants around your table. Behold, thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord. The Lord bless you from Zion. May you see prosperity of Jerusalem all the days of your life. Indeed, may you see your children's children. Peace be upon Israel. You may be seated. Now, often I think to myself when I look at this passage, why am I even needing to preach it? Because if you read the Bible slow and take your time, it'll preach itself. Think about what it says. And I remember my dad, when he was sitting around that table, he had us all, starting at around 6 years old, memorize this passage. And I'm doing it with my kids right now. We're taking the whole year of 2023, and I'm just going to say it over and over again because I want them to see the end all the way at the beginning. I want them to see how God allows this thing to work itself out for those who fear the Lord. Now listen to me now. He says, how blessed is everyone who fears the Lord and who walks in his ways. For you shall eat the fruit of your hand. You will be happy, and it will go well with you. In the family, your wife will become like a fruitful vine within your house, your children like olive plants around your table. Behold, thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord. May you be blessed from Zion. May you see prosperity in the city, Jerusalem. Indeed, may you look out one day and see your children's children. Peace be to a whole nation. We're going to memorize this all year because I want my children to see what my dad and my mom wanted me to see. They want you at the beginning to already see the conclusion at the end, where God is taking you. They wanted me to know, and I want you to know that there is a blessing that comes from the King. And the blessing that comes from the King has to do with individuals who fear God and who walk in his ways. The blessing is, you shall eat the fruit of your hands, you will be happy, and it will go well with you. Your wife will become a fruitful vine in your house. Your children will be like olive plants around your table. Thus, behold, you shall be blessed if you fear me. May you be blessed from Zion. May you see prosperity in all of the city. Indeed, may you look out on your porch and see your children's children. Peace be upon Israel. You see how I just preached that, just saying it? It preaches itself. It lets you know that there is a blessing from God that's generational, that's not just the human trinity, me, myself, and I. It's not a selfie. It goes a whole lot further than you. It outlives you. I was thinking about my mom on December 30th. She passed away December 30th, 2019. And on December 30th of 2022, or every year, we've been celebrating her life. And one of my posts was, build a legacy like she did. And you can still be here even when you're gone like she is. Why? Because she feared the Lord and walked in his ways. She ate the fruit of her hands. She was happy and it went well with her. She was a fruitful vine in the home. She had olive plants around her table. She was blessed from Zion. She looked out and she saw her children's children and helped bring peace to a whole nation. All I'm trying to say is there is a blessing from the King. And it says, blessed are those who fear the Lord. Now, if you want to be blessed, raise your hand. Anybody want to be blessed by the Lord? If you ain't raising your hand, you're lying in church. Come on now. Everybody wants to be blessed. But the real definition of a blessing is not just what we think of in 2023, where it's, God, I need you to do this for me. We live in an environment of narcissistic Christianity where we just want to use God as a step stool to take us higher. Which, if I can be blunt, that's what Lucifer did. It's satanic Christianity. Thanks for creating me, but I want to be on top of you. And he says, no, it's those who will humble themselves and fear me. Those are the ones that I'm looking to bless. Those are the ones that I'm looking to give a generational blessing to. Those are the ones that will not be easily forgotten. Those are the ones that make the greatest impact. Those are the ones that get well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things, and I'm going to make you ruler over many. I want you to consider your life, because there is a blessing from the King in 2023. And the blessing from the King in 2023 has to do with those who are willing to play the game his way, not their way. Based on his will, not their will. Based on his thoughts, not their thoughts. Not based on cultural demands, but based on Christological demands. And he says, I have a special blessing for those who are willing to play that way. When I played in the NFL, I played on Sunday, but I played on Sunday thinking about Monday. So you don't know that when I was playing, I know I didn't play for long and y'all don't know me, but who cares? I was there. Don't matter, does it? I don't need you to know me. But every player, they play on Sunday, but they're not thinking Sunday, they're thinking about Monday. When I played at college at Baylor University, I played on Saturday, but I wasn't thinking about Saturday, I was thinking about Sunday. When I played at Duncanville High School on Friday Night Lights in Duncanville, Texas, I played on Friday, but my mind was on Saturday. Why? Because that's the day that the coach reviews the film of your previous performance. So I would always be considering tomorrow while I'm playing today. Because I knew tomorrow I'd be held accountable for what I did today. So every time I made a play today, my mind was thinking, woo, that's going to look good on film tomorrow. When I was messing stuff up, I was like, I hope he skips over that one. Because I knew judgment was coming. 2 Corinthians 5:10, Paul says, for we all will go before the judgment seat of Christ and be recompensed for what we did between the lines while the game was being played. Where he'll pull down his cosmic screen, turn on his Holy Ghost overhead projector, pick up his blood of Jesus red pointer and sit you down and say, I just want to know, were you bearing the image of the decal on that helmet, which was the blood of Jesus Christ, based on the playbook that I gave you? Were you fearing the Lord, or were you just out there doing your own thing? Don't answer that. We're about to watch it right now. And that should be enough to make you say, you know what? Let me fear God. Because certainly he has a blessing tomorrow, but I need you to know he has a blessing today. And it's a blessing of the King for those who obey him. And many people are like my children. They got a lot of requests, but they don't want to take care of their responsibilities. They've got a lot of requests from the Father, but they don't want to obey and listen and take what I say seriously in my house. They room messed up, bathroom messed up, ain't nothing clean, clothes dirty, nothing washed, and then they want to go to Chick-fil-A. You want a blessing, but you want to be irresponsible. Then when you don't get the blessing, you're mad, even though you're irresponsible. And so what we want God to do is to be a bad parent when that's stuff you wouldn't even do. God says there is a blessing for those who fear me, take me seriously, are about Christ, not culture, or about the majesty, not the money, or about the things not of this world, but the things that are further than this world, even though you live in it. There is a blessing in 2023 for those who fear me and take me seriously. Now you may say to yourself, Jay, I know a lot of people who don't fear God who are blessed. I know a lot of people who don't fear God who are coming into 2023 with what seems like a lot. That's because people get confused. they don't realize that God's not the only one who blesses. Satan will bless your socks off. When rule was passed to him from Adam and Eve and dominion was lost in the garden, Satan took rule that we were supposed to have and started ruling with it. And even in Matthew chapter 4, he took his shot at Jesus. And he said, if you bow down and worship me, I'll give you the kingdoms of this world. I will bless you, I just need you. If you'll play for me, I can write a contract for you. Now, it doesn't mean that your house will ever become a home. I can't promise you that. It doesn't mean that just because I give you a car that your life will actually be going somewhere. I can't promise you that. It doesn't mean that the blessing won't come with sorrow. I can't promise you that. But at least I can give the facade to everyone else that you have been blessed. There are a lot of people that have gotten it confused because they're looking at blessings from sinners and thinking that they've come from the Savior. Just because your favorite artist got up and said, I want to thank God for all of these opportunities and monies and lyrics and all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking, bruh, God didn't do that. I don't know any coaches who will pay a player who's on the other sideline. It don't work like that. That doesn't mean they don't get paid, but they don't get paid by this coach. You need to understand that the blessing from God is different. Because Proverbs 10 says when God blesses those who fear the Lord, it comes with no sorrow. It's not attached to a whole lot of baggage. It's not attached to all of the things that draw you down, but that pick you up. It's a blessing that truly comes from the King for those who fear God. Now, the word fear in the Hebrew has to do with yer. It has to do, the word sound is yer. It has to do with a combination of fear and trembling and a combination of awe. Looking at God in awe, but also being careful where you step. When you put those two things into a pot and you mix them around, it basically means to take God seriously versus taking God casually. We live in a culture today that takes God casually and doesn't even take God seriously or doesn't take God at all. And we're wondering why we have all of this chaos in our personal life, all of this chaos in our family life, all of this chaos in our churches, all of the chaos in our community, all of the chaos in our nation. And God is saying, because you don't take me seriously. I have a blessing for those who fear me. I told you, even my people and the people of Israel in Deuteronomy 6, I said, if you obey my commands, you will live long on the earth. It will go well with you. You will multiply great in the land. I've got it all set up. Don't you know that there will be cisterns you did not dig, vegetation you did not plant, cities you did not build? I've got it all set up if you obey my commands. So everybody wants to get excited about God is able to do exceedingly abundantly beyond all he can ask or think. Watch this. According to the power that works in you. Oh, we don't like that part, do we? That's not our favorite. I was turning over pews until we got to me being responsible for something. I took my daughter, Kelsey. She's excited because she has an iPhone. Oh, Lord. I done gave the 13-year-old an iPhone. And she was excited about it because all of the things that she would gain access to. I mean, of course, she didn't know about parental controls, so we messed her life up, but she was excited at least for a moment. She got the phone and she plugged it in and nothing happened. It's a disappointment of her life that she had the phone, plugged it in, and there was no bing. Nothing happened. I said, Kelsey, is it plugged in? She said, well, look at it. It's plugged in. I said, ooh, woo. She frustrated, don't let your frustration out in the wrong place. You start moving your hands like this. So she's hot. And I said, okay, let me try some other stuff. I tried some other stuff. I said, but are you sure it's in? I know that it's in there. But I want to know if it's in there. Because you're just lazy. You're just ready to just hurry up and get to the phone. She said, Dad, it's plugged. I said, don't clap. Don't clap. I have the power to mess your life up. And will commence to do so if you clap. So while she was playing with the phone, I went over there and pressed the plug in, and it was in there, but it jumped forward a little bit. Bing. I'm looking at her. She looking at me. I'm looking at her. I said, because you can be excited about all that it can do, but if you ain't got no power, you won't have access to all that it can do. You see, there are a lot of people who are in here who aren't in here. I see you, but that doesn't mean you fear God. That doesn't mean that when you leave here, you're still here. It doesn't mean that his word you've been meditating on so much so that it's a reaction when life comes. It's a natural response to you in order to live and be a certain way. So you're in here, but you're not in here. And until you go forward in moving into what God is calling you to do and be in every area of your life, you'll have it plugged in, but you'll still have no power. And until you get to the power, you can't get to the applications. Once you get to the applications, you'll realize that you got notes where the Holy Spirit can remind you of things that you have forgotten. Once you get to the applications, you'll realize you got ways so the Spirit can lead you and guide you in all wisdom and in all truth. Once you get to the application, you can take photos of the goodness of God in your life, put it in your photos so that you can look back at a testimony of things that he has done over the sequence of time. Once you open the phone, you get to all of the applications in the phone. Now, if I go in my phone, I see music because he can make you dance like David danced. If I open my phone, I see airlines because he has the ability to fly you to your destiny even if you don't use your own power. If I open my phone, I see Cash App, but I'm not going to do that at Living Word. I'm not going to move into prosperity gospel. Some of y'all thinking, tell me about Zelle. I need to know about Venmo. All I'm saying is the applications can only be accessed when power is translated. So he is able to do exceedingly abundantly beyond all that you can ask or think according to the power that works within you. Therefore, if you don't have capacity, you won't experience much of God. If I bring a thimble to the ocean, I'm going to get a thimble's worth of ocean. There's enough ocean for that thimble, but I'm not going to get more than a thimble's worth. If I bring a cup, I'll get more than a thimble, but I'm not going to get more than a cup. If I bring a bucket, I'll get more than a thimble and a cup, but I'm not going to get more than a bucket. If I bring a barrel, I'll get more than a cup, a thimble, and whatever I said, but I ain't going to get more than a barrel. You bring a tanker, you'll get a tank. The ocean's full. It ain't going to run dry, but you only going to get what you have the power to handle. He says, blessed is everyone who fears the Lord. And the question is, how do you know you fear God? Remember, I told you that this passage preaches itself. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord, watch this, and who walks in his ways. I mean, you know what I mean? It's about your walk, not your talk. It's about your actions, not your articulations. It's about your faith, not your feelings. He says the blessing comes to those who walk in my ways. I know people who can quote scriptures that are spiritually dumb as rocks. And there is no house of their life ever being built. Because Proverbs 24 says, by wisdom a house is built. The ability to actualize what you've learned in hard situations. There has been no game that I've ever played where there was not an enemy or somebody daring me to go public with private conversations. Every time we broke huddle, somebody was there to stop me from moving forward. So I know that you have hardships. I know that it's a struggle. The coach wants to know what you're going to do about the struggle. That's the point. See, as Christians, we shouldn't have a struggle. No. You own the team in the Lord's army because there's a battle. And we want to get excited about victories, but we don't want no battles anywhere. But victories means there's a battle somewhere. And so walking in his ways has to do with being able to walk in such a way that even though there's a battle, I'm still good at executing in the midst of a storm. And when you get good at executing in the midst of a storm, even though there's 11 other guys daring you to go public with that private conversation you just had in church, then the coach has more of a trust of that player to give that player the ball because that player doesn't cower even though there's strong enemies on the other side. He's just looking to see who he can use. He's looking to see who he can actually put in the game. He's looking to see who's going to live their life or waste their life. Who's going to allow life to live them or who's going to actually live the life they've been called to live. He's looking to see, and time is ticking. I feel like I was 20 yesterday. I'm 41. I don't know what happened. Y'all didn't see how gingerly I came up these steps? I used to run up these steps. Now I'm thinking about my knees, my hips, my back. I sneeze and I'll crack a rib on my left side because things change. And a lot of us think we're waiting on God, and God is like, no, I'm waiting on you, and I have more time than you. You run out, I don't. Look at the first generation of the people of Israel. He promised them a promised land. I've got a great blessing for you, and they didn't get there. Bloop. Didn't make it. Next. That's what he does. And you should be thinking to yourself, what am I doing with my life? Am I wasting time in the culture? And trust me, in the culture, no one cares about you. I want to make sure you understand. I tell my kids all the time, you see how fast I'm swiping up on this social media page? That's how people feel about you. And everybody's doing the song and the dance, trying to get the views. And then you validate yourself by views because you got to go back every time you make a post to see how many people liked it. So you're validating yourself by views. Meanwhile, God is totally ignored in your life. He has your destiny, has your plan, know what he created you for. He knows what family he put you in. He got it all set up. I'm not giving it to that character. The culture has them on strings like a puppet. And finding their validation in this world, not realizing that all they're doing is doing this. And then the young who don't want to fear of standing alone, because if you're not like everybody else, then you're the outcast. Good. I told my youth group, I said, when you go to a Lecrae concert, who would you perceive as the successful one in the room? I said, Lecrae. I said, is he in the audience or on the stage? Well, he's on the stage. So he's not with you in the crowd? No. Well, that's what makes him the successful person in the room. It's not being in the crowd. It's the willingness to be the unique person God created you to be. And once you understand that, you can build a legacy. Once you understand that, God can use you for the uniqueness that you are the only you that ever was, that will ever be, or that ever is now. Value is determined by scarcity. If something is common, it has no value. If something is scarce or very hard to find, all of a sudden it becomes valuable based on supply and demand. Remember Economics 101? Okay. So if there's a whole lot of houses on the market, it is a buyer's market. Because the supply is so huge, prices have to come down to create demand. If there's not a lot of houses on the market, prices go up because there's more buyers than sellers. So scarcity actually determines value. So the more you get into the culture of swipe upness, is the more common you become on the market. The more common you become on the market, the less value you have in God's kingdom. Because God is not trying to use cultural saints to beat the culture. Y'all ain't. That wasn't even a part of this. I just saw a few young faces and just went off. He says, blessed is everyone who fears the Lord and who walks in his ways. And then you may be wondering to yourself, well, what are the blessings? I want to know what they are specifically. Well, you shall eat the fruit of your hands. You will be happy and it will go well with you. There's no greater blessing. Eat the fruit of your hands as your fortune. And he says, I'll take care of that. Now, I know you're out here, but I got it. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Cast your cares upon me, and I will sustain you. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge me. I will make your path straight. If you look throughout the context of the Bible, God is trying to take responsibility. But he will not take responsibility from those who use their free will to take it themselves. He'll just let you have it. And then you get to experience what's called the passive wrath of God, where he gives you over to yourself. You ever did that with one of your kids? I raised my kids that way. I learned that from scripture, passive wrath. Camden was 22 months. He wanted to go down the stairs by himself. I told him, man, you can't do that. He started pulling and tugging. I didn't know what he was saying, but I knew it was rude. So I got offended. And I let him go. Now, if we have any social workers in the room, I waited until we got down to the last step because I knew what was going to happen. He took the step on his own, and before his right foot touched the ground, his left foot had already left the step. There was nothing there. He fell down, he hit his stomach, knocked the air out of him, and then suddenly got up, turned back towards me, started crying, and lifted up his hands. I said, isn't this interesting? A worship service after you fall on your face. Isn't that what we do? It's all of a sudden a worship service, but it's because God allows you to fall on your face. Because you're pulling and tugging from the Father, and he says, I will take care of your fortune, I will take care of your feelings, and I will take care of your future. And those are the people who have fallen, who are in the front row, not the back row, who are serious about, because they've been there enough to know, we're not letting daddy's hand go. He's got it. Camden, 9 years old. Hold my hand, daddy. No, man. Grow up. He didn't forget. He says, I'll take care of your fortune. You will be happy. I'll take care of your feelings. It will go well with you. I'll take care of your future. Your fortune, your feelings, your future for those who fear the Lord. Now, I know what you think a blessing is. Give me the house, the car, the money, all that kind of thing. But if you miserable, none of that stuff matters. To be able to have peace in a storm, to be able to walk through life knowing you're standing in your purpose, to not be chasing after the wind like Solomon says is totally vain, but to sit in the grace of God, to rest and still be productive, to experience things you did not even build come your way, is when you experience the power of God for those who are blessed and fear me. Are y'all rocking with, are y'all seeing how this plays itself out? It says, how blessed is everyone who fears the Lord and who walks in his ways. You shall eat the fruit of your hand. You will be happy and it will go well with you. Your wife shall be like a fruitful vine in your house. Your children like olive plants around your table. Oh, so he just moved from the individual who fears God to a productive family. He started with Adam, brought in Eve, be fruitful and multiply. That is the covenant of God, marriage. He has the Adamic covenant, which is the individual rule. Okay, listen to me. Don't eat the tree. See, obey, and you'll stay in the garden, the place of blessing. You and your wife have kids, not so that you can have lookalikes, but so that I can have lookalikes who just happen to look like you. Parents, you are stewards of your kids. You do not own them. They belong to God. It takes a monkey off your back. I mean, you don't just hand them over, but you got to be a good steward. But he says, your wife shall be like a fruitful vine. So now I know here he's drawing his attention to the man. I don't do cultural definitions. I do biblical definitions. And he says, your wife shall become, and he's talking about the marriage. So I want the men to know, you're talking about, my wife is crucifying me. Well, you said you wanted to be like Christ, didn't you? I'm just saying. In Scripture, he puts the man in the Christ position. He puts the woman in the church position. It is Christ's job to die for his wife, to be that serious about marriage that he gives up his life. And the wife responds to that. That's leadership. Women may ask, well, why is the man the head of the household? That's dumb. Have you been around him lately? Well, don't laugh that loud with him sitting next to you. It's respect. Well, because whoever has to die leads. The expectation is that when intruder comes into the house, what man can say to his wife, I hear something, honey, the window's breaking. I'm going to go to the closet. You go handle this one for me. You will lose. You kill him before the intruder get in there. Because his job, the way he's built, is to die for his family. Jesus Christ died for the church. He's the leader. By virtue of him being the leader, God's call, but by virtue of him being the one who dies so that others can live. But it says your wife shall become a fruitful vine within your house. That means that she's responding to a man who not just is willing to die physically, but is willing to give up himself so that she can flourish in the marriage. And she responds with the things that the scripture says, to respect your husband as the head of the household. None of this is culturally preached. That the husband loves his wife so much so that he's willing to die. And it's evident in how he lives for her and treats her. And then that the wife respects her husband as if to say thank you with gratitude on a daily basis. That marriage which is very short. I can do a whole series on marriage, but today we almost over time. God blesses it. It's based on his word, not how you grew up. Not on what, Andrew Tate says on social media. Some of you know, y'all been on YouTube. Stop watching YouTube. Don't look him up. He's raggedy. But everybody's got their opinions on how it works. Meanwhile, they'll destroy your entire house. Yeah. This is the area where your covenant gets built out so that you can indeed long-term look out with the joy of the Lord and see your children's children. But the problem is, a lot of men want a summer wife, but they bring home winter weather. She's responding to the temperature you set. Be consistent. It's hard. The Bible says, live with your wife in understanding. Ladies, I'm telling you, that's hard for us. We're pretty simple. Too simple at sometimes. And to understand, to take the time to understand the complexities. And then it tells the wife in 1 Peter 3, it's not going to be with many words that you get him, but with your example and your respect that he responds. It just tells you what to do. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord and walks in his ways. That in your marriage you say, what does God tell me to do? I'm submitting to him. But when you let your history tell you to do what to do, how you were raised, culture, all the podcasts tell you what to do, you bring an air into the room that cannot be easily breathed, and everything dies. Your children will be like olive plants around your table. Not olive trees, olive plants. It takes 15 years for an olive plant to become an olive tree, but the olive tree will pump out olives for 2,000 years. There are olive trees right now in the Garden of Gethsemane that were there at the time that Christ prayed, not my will, but your will be done. Same olive trees pumping out olives. How in the world? Because their roots run deep. They're sitting with parents around the table. They're being led, taught the word, diving into their life. And the roots run deep. People ask all the time, how in the world did Anthony, Priscilla, Crystal, you, all of y'all get into ministry? Well, it's the glory of God, but my dad and mom took the time to put us around the table. They opened up God's word and they taught us a thing or two. And you don't have to be a pastor to do it. You just listen to your pastor and then go do it. And the roots start grabbing hold of things where the word does not return void. And then he says, may the Lord bless you from Zion. That's the church. The church is still a big deal even in 2023. I know everybody thinks the church is just the church. No, I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. So the enemy of hell, the opponent of hell is the church. If you're disconnected from the church, then no wonder why all hell is breaking loose in your life. Yeah. Because the opponent of hell is the church. So may you be blessed from Zion, which is the church. You got HOV lanes? The fast lanes? You can't be by yourself in there, can you? The only way you get out of traffic is if you're with somebody else. So if you're disconnected, you in traffic. If you're connected, you can get to your destiny. May you see prosperity in Jerusalem all the days of your life. The individual, the family, the church, the impact to the city. Jerusalem is the epicenter of many things in the Bible. And prosperity in this area, in greater Houston, can happen with living word people. How many disciples was it? And you sitting in this room thousands of years later? Just 12 who feared the Lord and walked in his ways. Indeed, may you see your children's children. Peace be upon all Israel. Why did I give you that passage? Because this is the story of Paul Cannings and Tony Evans. You see, they had parents who feared God and put them around a table. The grandparents had wives that became fruitful vines, and they were the olive plants around the table becoming olive trees. One of the kids, many of them are here. There was 8 of them, so it's a lot of them. One of the kids, Paul Cannings, fell in love with God's word. He met a woman named Everett, who really is an outkick of his coverage. He did a great job there. And she became a fruitful vine in his house. They had 2 kids, Pierre and Paul. Sorry, Paul, let me say it right. Paul and Pierre. One of them is preaching in church and the other one is building them. And right now in their 60s, sorry, you young know, make 60 look good. They're looking out and seeing their children's children. He's on radio around the world, both of them, bringing peace to a nation and a world that's in turmoil. This is their story. This can be your story. If you fear God and you walk in his ways, he'll take care of your fortune, your feelings, and your future. He'll take care of your family. You'll start building a legacy that matters. You'll make impact on many people's lives. You'll look out and you'll see your children's children. And after 29 years, you'll celebrate the faithfulness of God because of the power that's at work in you. I preach this sermon because I don't want it to just be words on a page. I want it to be words written on your heart so that you'll live this life and the life won't live you. And in 2023, you'll experience a blessing from the King.
I pray that this message touched your life in a powerful way, because this is what we're after. This is what we're focused on. That the message would not just impact your mind, but your heart, so that you get to know Christ intimately. He becomes somebody you experience, not just know about. And that's why we want you to subscribe. We want you to subscribe because when you subscribe, when new messages come, it gives you a signal. And therefore you know how to come back on, and we grow together powerfully. You go to our website, because when you do, you can find out about the book, Disciples in the Making. When that happens, it teaches you how to go from spiritual infancy to spiritual maturity and gives you all the steps to make that happen. So go on to our website and also give to this ministry. When you do, we're able to touch more lives all around the world that tune into this ministry for the glory of God. So you're able to make a definite impact that will change lives for God's glory. So subscribe. That way you continue to be involved and be a part of what God is doing, not just here at Living Room, but all around the world. You touch lives. God bless you. Stay focused.